Hi everyone, my name is Shannon and welcome to Paris and to my YouTube channel. And so this is my first ever video, and I figured since it was so nice and sunny this morning that I would come out to this park that I really love. It's just a few steps away from my apartment, and it's a place that I love to just sit and think and study. So you might hear some birds chirping and dogs barking, but it's usually pretty quiet here. And so since I'm American and I'm living in Paris, I figured my first video could be on the topic of what it's like to be an American living in Paris. And so to discuss this with you guys, I'm basically going to go over 3 myths that I've just before I moved to Paris, people would tell me these 3 things, and I kind of want to falsify them, and they are based on my own personal experience. Oh my god. So yeah, take everything with a grain of salt, and it's all subjective. And so let's start talking about the first thing, is that it's super expensive to live in Paris. Okay, so this depends really on who you are and where and what you're coming from. I honestly would say that Paris is not too expensive to live. First of all, living expenses. I am coming from New York City and Northern California, where where living expenses are really high in general. And so compared to those cities like New York City and San Francisco maybe, Paris is actually pretty moderately priced in terms of rent, like for your apartment. Also, Paris is broken down into districts, and so if you visited or you've lived here, you know that it's broken down into districts or arrondissements. And I live in the 7th, which is kind of a prestigious place to live, but it's also quite touristy. And so there are some loopholes, like you can find an apartment in a really cute area, but for a really good price. And so it's all really based on you, on your budget, and on where you're coming from as a person. If you're coming from a big city and you're already used to that high living expense rate, then you'll probably find that it's not so expensive to live in Paris. And then in terms of transportation expenses, Paris is a great city to just walk around. I literally walk from here, from the Eiffel Tower to Notre Dame Cathedral, and it takes me 45 minutes, and it's a beautiful walk, especially on a day like today. And then everyone takes the metro, right? And if you choose to have a car, that's on you. Of course, that having a car gives you the expense of things like gas, and if you're living in a suburb, then maybe that's the best option for you. But if you are living in the city, living expenses are not that high in terms of transportation, because you're taking the metro and you're walking and you're also saving the environment at the same time, and so it's great. And then in terms of food is another living expense. Paris, I don't think, gets enough credit for this, but it's sort of a melting pot, and you'll find that there's lots of Asian cuisine, there's huge African culture here, which is great. And so you'll find lots of different foods, especially since Paris is closer to the rest of the world than the US is. You'll find lots of cool food. And then there's also lots of fresh goods available. Living in New York or living in San Francisco, yeah, there's farmers markets on Sundays and things like that. But here in Paris, there's always fresh goods available. I mean, on every corner, there's a fruit market and a vegetable market. And so if you love cooking, you'll be able to find some really nice, beautiful, fresh ingredients, and for a really good cost. Okay, now moving on to the second myth, and that is that you won't be able to function, or you should be super nervous if you're moving to Paris and you don't speak any French. Completely false. Okay, most people, I shouldn't say that. In Paris, where I live in the 7th arrondissement, I'm going to focus on that area and say that generally people speak English, especially at restaurants and stores, shopping, and of course hotels. People speak English. And then in my district as well, there are lots of schools, and the schools actually teach the children English, and I think that's really cool. But yeah, so it depends on the district that you live in. So I can speak for the district that I live in, and I know that lots of people speak English, which is good and bad because it can kind of hinder your progress in learning French. But that's just me making excuses for myself and why my French sucks after having been here for an entire year. But yeah, you shouldn't be so nervous, especially if you are coming as a tourist. If you're coming to Paris as a tourist, you'll have no problem getting around and doing things. People speak English. However, do make the effort to learn French and like immerse yourself in the culture. And the third thing that I want to talk about, which is like a huge, I guess it could be controversial, but I'm gonna keep it really simple. Parisians are rude. Okay. Honestly, I think that it's the reality of living in a city. The reality of living in a city is that people have things to do and places to go, and you're taking the metro and you're being shuffled around. And Parisians to me are just really straightforward people. And I wouldn't say that they are rude. For me, like my entire life, moving out of the city to places like I went to high school in Virginia, and then like I moved to Northern California. People always told me like, oh, you're so mean, or you come off as rude, or you have this like mean mug. It's like the famous expression. So I think it's just the reality of living in a city that people have this sort of harsh exterior due to their environment, right? But Europeans in general, I find, are way more relaxed in the sense that they take time to spend with their friends and with their families, and to hang out and have cocktails in the evenings and enjoy their dinners and their lunches. And so, yeah, Parisians are not always rude, and that's totally subjective, but yeah. There's another topic that I wanted to talk about. Paris, and this kind of goes for moving to Europe, I guess, but Paris is super close to, like, and France is super close to other countries. And so people always say, oh, you live in France, it's so easy to get places by like train. Like you take the train from like Paris to like, I don't know, Torino, Italy, or to Milan. Honestly, my personal experience is that I have found that it is actually cheaper most of the time to fly than it is to take the train. But you do have the option of taking the train. The train does take way longer, obviously. It will probably take like 8 to 15 hours to travel from Paris to Torino in Italy, whereas it's like a 1 hour flight from Paris to Milan, and you can find flights for like €30, and train tickets are usually pretty expensive. That's just my experience. I'll find that train tickets are always, for me, more expensive and more time consuming than it is to buy a plane ticket. The only thing is that when you take the train, you might find that you get dropped off in the city center, so you can easily get like the metro or taxi within the city center, whereas airports are usually pretty far off from the city center. So yeah, you'll have like additional transportation costs when you do take the plane rather than a train. But anyway, the last thing that I wanted to say is, if you're planning on moving to Paris or moving anywhere out of the US to a place that you don't really know, really make the experience your own. Don't just go to a blog and follow everything that blogger did. Don't just go to someone's Instagram and take pictures in every single place that they went to. Make the experience your own, enjoy it, and just explore, explore and find things that really, find things that you love, things that you like to do, and make the experience a one of a kind experience for yourself. And yeah, so now I'm just gonna get up and kind of show you guys around this park, which is right across from the Eiffel Tower. And yeah, it should be a pretty nice walk since it's so nice and sunny today. So what would a video about Paris be if it wasn't for a cameo of Two Eiffel? So I'm just gonna take a little walk around the park. this video, please like, share, and comment, and subscribe, and give me ideas about what I should upload in the future. And thank you for watching.